we had traction. We were growing month over month. So it's like, okay, we need to raise funds. It was like everything was like amazing. Let's go. Let's do this. We can do this. So I started talking to 10, 20, 30 investors, telling them like with all of my energy and enthusiasm about the idea that I have been working on for the past year and a half. And they were like, it seems good, but like, I don't wanna invest into this. Like it's not worth it. Let me know how you're doing in like 12 months. But I was like, how the heck am I gonna tell you how I'm doing in 12 months if I don't have money to pay for salaries like next month? And I remember just like ending the calls after like, half an hour of getting grilled in the product, the team, the vision, everything was bad. And then the call and like laying on my bed and I couldn't get up. I was like, I couldn't. I just didn't have the energy. Everything seemed like it was like falling apart. And I actually started therapy because of that. Because I remember like not being able to get out of bed in the mornings or like after these calls, like just laying for 30, 40 minutes in bed, just like looking into the ceiling and just like thinking about nothing. And so I was like, okay, there's definitely something wrong and definitely something that I need to change and talk about with someone that is an expert on this. At first, I obviously didn't think it was that bad. It was like, okay, it's just part of the journey. But it wasn't. Like it shouldn't be that way. I mean, yeah, fundraising is tough, but it shouldn't affect your mental health.
If you're a young funder, you know what we're talking about. And if you're not, then you definitely remember how hard it is for your first fundraising. This is the story of Bruno Calcagno, who is sharing everything about the behind the scenes that it brought him to work on himself before he was able to raise his first funds on his startup. We are, as usual, transparent about it, shining light on how hard this life is, and most importantly, what were the lessons that Bruno learned throughout this journey and is now sharing with us. So keep watching and let me know what you think in the comments. All right, we're back at the Founders Bible. Today we're talking with Bruno. You're calling from Valencia. I'm in Japan, so always very long distance conversations. How's it going this morning for you, right?
Yeah, hello Alessandro. Very happy to be here. Luckily it's going well. It's sunny out there, so yeah, can't complain.
Yeah, you were just saying you work with a co-working space in front of the seaside. I bet is not a wrong the wrong environment where to work from.
Yeah, no, it's actually quite distracting to see, especially like on the sunny days, people out there like sunbathing and running and just enjoying the water, and me like having to be locked in here. But still, the views are amazing. So yeah, super happy to be working from this place.
Amazing. Well, so Bruno, you are a founder. We are the Founders Bible. The first question is always due. Why the heck did you decide to become a founder? What's your story?
Um, I guess I've always kind of been a founder in a way. Like ever since I was like, I don't know, 9, 10 years old, I was selling these like sort of tattoos with marker pens at school. Then in high school, I was selling other stuff. But like when it comes to like actually being a startup founder, it seemed like very like a natural thing to do. And I didn't think about it that much. And I remember when I told it to my parents, my dad has been an entrepreneur as well. So to my mom, it was like kind of weird. Like, why are you quitting your high paying job in Australia? Like you have your life sort of like settled in a way because you already went to university, you graduated, now you got a good job. Like, why are you leaving all of that? But like, to me, it's like, I'm not like what I get joy out of is like creating stuff that can create value to either people or the environment, or ideally both. And so when I started the company, I didn't like think about it that much. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And I couldn't do anything else but founding. Like if I didn't do it, I feel like I was like failing myself. And I guess that was the thing. I had like something in here that was telling me all the time. And so yeah, that's why I did it.
How come all these parents traditional academic journey, and then you get to finally the final goal of having a piece of paper and a job, and then you leave everything? Well, yeah, that's kind of a common story, I would say. I don't know, for me, I didn't even manage to get the proper job that I already started funding after the graduating. So probably for me that was not the part of the story when my parents could say, no, what are you doing? It's like, okay, well, forget about it. At least you got a degree, at least you didn't drop out.
Yeah. I guess you're
Wonderful.
being crazier than
So,
me in that way
Bruno,
then.
yeah, probably. Let's see. Let's see. Uh, I'm curious to hear your story of the behind the scenes of the pain and the challenges. As you know, at the Funders Bible, I don't hate success per se, but I definitely don't want to talk about it anymore. I think there is plenty of people talking about it. I'm very curious to hear what is happening behind the scenes to get to that success. And I'm especially happy of this interview because this is among the first ones that I'm now doing thanks to the ripple effect of the work that I'm doing. So you've been recommended by other founders because you knew from before you spent some time in private circles, let's say, kind of like closed doors environments, and you share these kind of stories. So now is the first time where from a closed environment we are bringing it to the public so that any other can actually have access to another point of view of the situation. So what has been for you like the first walls that you hit becoming a founder? Guide us through a little bit of this journey.
Sure. I guess first of all, I love the idea of like looking behind the scenes because everything might seem amazing when we tell our story, but actually there's like so much shit underneath it. So I love the idea.
So I guess in my journey, I had like two major, very like negative or very tough moments that I had to go through. One of them was navigating fundraising for the first time, and then the second one would be pivoting. And so in terms of fundraising, I mean, we were like reaching say like a good point where we had like paying customers, which was amazing at the time because our product was very bad. We had traction. We were growing month over month, so it's like, okay, we need to raise funds so that we can hire a development team so that we can improve the product and run some ads and get more customers and go into other cities. So like, everything was like amazing. Let's go. Let's do this. We can do this. So I started talking to 10, 20, 30 investors, telling them like with all of my energy and enthusiasm about the idea that I have been working on for the past year and a half, for which I had like quit my high paying job in Australia, for which I had like started this new company. And they were like, "No, it seems good, but like, I don't wanna invest into this. Like it's not worth it." Or I would get like this very harsh feedback or just like bullshit feedback, like, "Yeah, it's just not the right time. Let me know how you're doing in like 12 months." But I was like, how the heck am I gonna tell you how I'm doing in 12 months if I don't have money to pay for salaries like next month? It's like, why are you even telling me this? And so I remember just like ending the calls, and back then it was like COVID time, so I did all of the calls like from my bedroom, actually in Argentina. And I remember just like ending the calls after like half an hour of getting grilled in the product, the team, the vision, everything was bad. And just ending the call and like laying on my bed, and I couldn't get up. I was like, I couldn't. I just didn't have the energy. I didn't have like the will of like, everything seemed like it was like falling apart. And I just like then go back into my computer and start another call with either an investor or even worse, like with my team and my co-founder, and be enthusiastic about what we were building, when I knew we didn't have enough money to like pay salaries maybe in a few months. And by the looks of it, we're not gonna get funded anytime soon because uh, like it was not looking promising at all. So I guess that was like a very, very challenging time. And I actually started therapy because of that. Because I remember like not being able to get out of bed in the mornings or like after these calls, like just laying for 30, 40 minutes in bed, just like looking into the ceiling and just like thinking about nothing, which is something not very common in me. Like I'm usually very energetic type of person. And so I was like, okay, there's definitely something wrong, and definitely something that I need to change and talk about with someone that is an expert on this. And so I started therapy, and it was very life changing. I remember being a bit like, I don't know if like afraid or like, I don't know, it didn't seem right because it didn't seem like I had like a good enough problem for me to go to therapy. But it actually was, because like it was very hard to finish those calls and just get back into my feet and keep on going. So that was very, very helpful. It really helped me like navigate through those tough conversations and understanding that it was just like a numbers games. You need to talk to 100 investors, and then luckily one or two will say yes. And so I started like taking a total different approach towards fundraising. And instead of like internalizing those no's and those rejections that I was getting, it was just like, okay, one more no, like 99 more to go, right? And so I took it like as an exercise, and in the end, we ended up like getting funded by a few angel investors. Luckily, I don't know why, but I guess like persistence and just keeping the flame of this like passion and dream we had alive. And that's something that you cannot like put into words. You can just like transmit it. And if it's in person, that's even better. That's something really important that I learned. Actually ended up taking a flight to Barcelona to meet the guy who ended up becoming our first angel investor without even knowing it at the time. And I guess those sort of like things, was like going an extra mile is what gets you better results than just doing what everyone else is doing. And I guess the second thing was pivoting. So after we raised funds and everything was like going well again, sort of like growing and getting more users and acquiring and blah blah blah. I remember looking into the numbers and running projections and figuring out that things didn't make sense, like in the future. Like when I ran projections for what was going to happen in the upcoming months or even years, we're not going to get profitable anytime soon. We're going to just have to keep on raising more and more and more money. And when I was like talking to founders that really understood this industry, they were like, yeah, this is really hard. Like, I don't see this like being a possibility. And when I talked about it with my co-founders, they were like, yeah, that's right. Like, we're not going to be profitable anytime soon. We're going to have to keep on raising like a lot more money for like 5-10 years without even knowing if this business model makes sense.
And did you have numbers in the meantime?
Yeah, we had like I mean, our unit economics didn't make sense at all. And back then it was like the funding bubble or like growth at all costs. So don't look at your numbers, doesn't matter, just grow, invest. But like when we actually look at it like very honestly, it didn't make sense. Like we're just buying customers, I think it was like for $25-$30 each, every user, and then every one of them gave us like $2-3 in return. Like it made no sense at all. But everyone was just like, it doesn't matter, like Uber and Airbnb, they're also marketplaces. You just got to keep on growing until network effects kick in. But like when we look at it like very honestly, like we didn't feel right about it. And so the question was like, okay, now that we figured out that this doesn't make sense, what are we going to do with the company? Like, what are we going to say to our investors who invested into this idea that we now think is not going to work? So I remember being with one of the guy that was actually one of our first angel investor. And before meeting him with my co-founder, we're like, what the heck are we going to tell him? Like, the idea that he invested in is not working anymore, and we're going to change things, and we're going to like do something completely different. Like, he's gonna kick us in the ass. Like, like I was like, I remember being afraid of like what could happen out of that meeting. And it was so crazy because like I walked into this meeting like very nervous, I'm about to cry. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I wasted your money. The company you invested in is not gonna like exist anymore. We're gonna change stuff. And I got such a very like good response from him, where he was like, okay, like it's a very common thing. Like companies pivot all the time. Like I invested in you guys. I didn't invest in the idea per se. Like obviously he was bullish on the idea, but like he invested much more into us than the idea itself. Because like we're in a very early stage, right? Which maybe for an angel investor is like kind of obvious, but like to us, we were like 21 years old. We had no idea about like anything, and so I was like, wow, this guy believed in us. Like not even us believed in us. So like, how come a guy that already had a successful exit of like, I don't know, 100 mil, like has a ton of experience, invested in us and believed in us. So it's like, okay, maybe we have something. And so we started like looking into the stories of startup pivots. we found out that, for instance, Slack didn't start as Slack. It started as a video game, but then they pivoted to Slack, which is like completely nothing to do. Even YouTube started as a dating app where people could upload videos of themselves to date others, but it was not getting traction. So they were just like, okay, let's just change this and make it available so that people can just upload any type of video. And it worked. And so we're like, okay, so maybe we can do something else. And then we ended up pivoting and it ended up working. But like at the time, it
Nice.
was very, very hard.
I think the key mistake, you kind of drove me back in the past, because this feeling of having to explain what's happening to the investors and being scared, and therefore kind of like fake it till you make it and keep pushing whatever it takes. I've been on a similar conversation with another funder recently, and it seems to be kind of like the first time founder common mistake, because you really think that people are investing in the pitch that you made rather than the people. And also
Yeah.
you kind of like think that the investors, like that you know better than the investor, in the sense that you may know better when it comes to your industry, your insight about the market, but you kind of also pretend to know how to best invest the money of the investor, like as if you could do a better job than him allocating the resources. Sometimes it's so weird, like going to these meetings, and on one end, if you don't say it, is actually probably at some point very bad, because it's kind of like a failed opportunity to learn from the position of the investor. And if it's an angel, in the majority of cases, is a founder that has more experience than you, so probably it will actually give you like a proper feedback. And on the other, just like not pivoting, like not trying something else, or not just being honest and say, look, we can give you, I don't know, we burn 30K, we burn 100K, what do we do here? Like let's restart with a blank page. Nice. I love that. I think what I love the most about conversation like you is like, we you're so much like the kind of memory of this experience is so vividly fresh, let's say, compared to, if you interviewed like a 50 plus 60 plus years old, it's like, yeah, when I was 20, I don't remember anymore. So guide me through exactly the mental process that you were living in those times. You mentioned the mental health support through the therapist. You mentioned that at the beginning you were not even that, like it was not an easy choice immediately to get to this kind of support. What were you thinking? What was happening in your mind during that time? I think this is very important for the people that are there, because as I mentioned, like an older one, first it would be probably in another generation, so probably therapy wasn't even a thing back then. But it's important to understand, what were you thinking? Like, if you were waking up every morning, what were you feeling that made you say, okay, shoot, now I go? Like, that's too much.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, and as you said, yeah, it was kind of, I don't know, like 2 years ago, if not less. So for the first case, like fundraising, I remember very vividly, like ending the call with an investor that obviously said no, and then just like laying on my bed, which was right next to my desk, because like it was literally my bedroom that I was doing fundraising from, and just like laying on my bed, looking into the ceiling, and just not having energy in my body. I felt like empty. Like I didn't want to do this anymore. I felt so discouraged. Like everything was falling apart. Like I started doubting myself, doubting the company, doubting the team. Like, have I screwed up? Like, could I have just kept my job and had a better life? I could be saving money, traveling. Instead, I'm just like here locked in a bedroom. Like, why am I even doing this? So I felt like very lost in a way. Um, Kind of like having this sort of existential crisis. Like, why am I even doing this? Like, I could be so happy right now and just, doing the normal thing like my mom advised me to. But and then yeah, like I remember also like waking up and not having energy in the morning. Like I didn't even want to open my laptop, or when I did, I just like did it from my bed. Like I didn't even want to, go into my desk, which was again right next to my bed, so it wasn't like a much of an effort. um, and so when it kept on happening and happening, and something very good is that I have a very like open relationship with my co-founder, and he's very good with words and feelings, whereas I'm not, and I especially wasn't before starting therapy at all. And so I remember like having conversations with him. He was like, "Okay, how's fundraising going?" Obviously, and then I started sharing more and more as he kept on like asking better and more like deep questions. And so he realized, okay, maybe you should get some sort of like help, because like that should not happen, that you like finish a call and just lay on bed and cannot get up from it. Um, and then I also talked about it with my girlfriend at the time and with my parents, and I guess that was like very important that I had people around me that supported me, that I could like talk about it with them. Because at first I obviously didn't think it was that bad. It was like, okay, it's just part of the journey, but it wasn't like it shouldn't be that way. I mean, yeah, fundraising is tough, but it shouldn't affect your mental health. And so I think just speaking about it very openly, even though I was like kind of ashamed, or I don't know how to put it into words, but like, yeah, it wasn't a very nice thing to communicate to others, because I also felt like I was failing. And so, yeah, just being open and telling it to people, and just being honest with myself as well. Like, okay, like this is not good, but you can solve it, or you can try to solve it somehow. It's not the end of the world, right? And so, like, talking about it and then seeking like mental health help, and
What was the work that you did with this person? Like, how could this person drive you to kind of change a little bit the perspective on what you were experiencing, feeling, thinking?
yeah, I think on one end, it made me connect more with myself about like the purpose of why I was doing this. Like, why did I quit my job and I started this company? Like, what was my vision and my mission with this company? Like, what connected me with the purpose of this company, what we actually wanted to achieve. Um, and when you think about it, like I didn't just want to build a company to make money. I was just like really helping at the time field service workers to get a job through the pandemic, which was a very difficult time to be a plumber or an electrician, because nobody wanted to get you inside their houses because you're a stranger, you might have COVID. So like, yeah, it was a very tough time. Um, and to me, it was like, okay, I have like the responsibility to make this company work, because it's going to help thousands and thousands of people. And that was much more deep than just, okay, I want to fundraise because I want to have money in my company's bank account to hire people and make this grow, right? And so on one end, connecting myself with the purpose of the company and why I was actually building this was really helpful, because when you put it into perspective, like the mission of what you can achieve with the company is so much greater than just having to talk to 100 investors and them saying no to you. Like, it's nothing compared to that. And then just also putting things into perspective, I think was very, very important. I'm a very like numbers guy, so, but I didn't think about it at the time. But when she mentioned, okay, like, and she, like, the therapist was not even like specialized in founders or anything, which is something that I discovered later on that's very helpful. But like at the time, I don't know, reach out to whatever therapist I could find. It was online, obviously, because of the pandemic. And then she started like asking me questions about like, okay, how does this fundraising thing work? And we both figured out that, yeah, you need to talk to at least 100 investors, if not actually more. They will reject you, dozens and dozens of times, because that's what actually happens. That's how the process works. And so you need to prepare for this like sort of tough situation where you will get a lot of rejection. Um, but ideally, like in the best case scenario, you might get a yes, you might get an investor at the end of it. Um, so every time you get a no, instead of like having this very negative reaction that I was getting, try to like reward yourself in a way, because you're going through these like difficult moments, which is like very outside of your comfort zone. So I remember like one of the tricks was like, okay, after every no that you get, like after every call, instead of like laying on your bed and doing nothing, reward yourself because you went through a tough moment. So I don't know, play a video game or eat a chocolate, play some tennis, like do something that you enjoy, and start like also like writing down about your progress. So like, okay, today I spoke with 5 investors. They all said no, but it's 5, so 5 is a big number because it means I have 95 more to go, but it's something. So having that progress in a very visual way was very helpful, because it made me realize, okay, how much effort I was putting in and how much closer I was to the deadline of like at least speaking to 100. And so that was very, very helpful at the time.
Okay, let me make a quick break from the show to explain you why this project came alive. 6 months ago, I started interviewing founders to understand what were the secret sauces for their success. But even more importantly, I was curious to understand how much pain they had to go through in order to achieve their dreams. I've been an entrepreneur myself for the past 10 years, and I know exactly how painful this journey is, but very few people are actually willing to talk about it. And that's exactly what we're doing at the Funders Bible for Resilience. We're finally breaking the toxic hustle culture behind startup life. I'm on a mission to build a new generation of funders that can leverage ancient wisdom and science for true long-term peak performance and longevity. If you want to be part of this movement, then check out wholegrainwisdom.com and join us now. Okay, now back to the show. I love the idea of the progress bar. Definitely super interesting. You're bringing me into the topic of like building habits. You mentioned the reward and the situation every time that you're doing something negative. This is something that I probably started to get and learn a little bit too late, in the sense that there is actually quite a big science behind all of how the brain works, how the different behaviors work. We are humans of habits, so we just do things because in the 95% of the cases we just do them because we are used to it. So the more that you can kind of like build the positive reward system into something that eventually you may not even like to do so much, but it's needed, it really drives you through. Amazing. How do you keep at peak performance today? Like, okay, you went through this period, you got out of it, you fundraise a little bit, from what I am understanding. Today, you said before hitting the button or for recording the episode, like this is a good day, and so I want to celebrate it. I don't know if it's gonna last forever, but definitely today it's a good day. So how, like, what have you learned so far to keep your good days more now, like as a quantifiable number, like more days than the negative ones?
Mm, I don't think there's gonna be more good days and bad days, uh, but I'm okay with that. Like, I've learned how to like celebrate the good stuff, even as little as they are. I was like, okay, we just learned this about a customer, we launched this feature, and it worked. It's like, okay, let's go. We have like a kudos channel on Slack, and we just like celebrate for things that might seem like, yeah, they're not even that big, but it doesn't matter, because we like, at least I know that it's a fact we're not gonna have that many good days. So we try to celebrate those like little moments, because actually in our journey they're gonna be very important, and we never know like which is like super important. So we try to celebrate like the small wins. Um, and then in terms of like habits, I would say, well, sleeping obviously is very, very important. I used to not pay attention to how much I was sleeping, but after I got myself like an Apple Watch, I started like really looking into the data, and it was like, okay, I gotta reach my minimum at least, because otherwise I'm not gonna be at peak performance. I started prioritizing mental and physical health over work, which is very hard because work has always been my top priority over everything, because I love my work, but I know that if I'm not at my peak mentally and physically, I'm not gonna be at my peak at work. Maybe I have a shit ton of work to do, but I gotta put in the at least 45 minutes of gym, or at least half an hour run. Like, that's the bare minimum. Like, what is half an hour? Like, in your computer, you don't even realize it, and it's like 30 minutes just go by. So physical activity and mental health is like top priority for me, and
Wonderful.
that's been like a real game changer.
Amazing. And today, I want to end the conversation with kind of like a recurrent question that I ask to close, which is if you add 5 seats for building your own personal team of support, as funders, we're always focused to build, the team for the company, but we don't build it for ourselves to support our growth, our
Mm.
journey, our challenges, the performance that we need to go through every day. So if you really could do anything you wanted, you can call anyone or anything. It doesn't need to be a person, and build your own personal team of support. You mentioned all of these kind of routines that you already have. Are there any others that are kind of like in your dream list? Okay, if I could afford this, or if I just could focus on it, what would they be?
In terms of person, or also like habits or things that I would like to.
Yeah, focus on either the person that could give you access to that thing, or just the thing directly, that that it would be like the must have person or skill into your board of personal assistants for your journey as a founder, like to reach peak performance more easily, faster, and so on.
That's a very good point because actually I recently read a book called Who Not How that
Yeah.
basically it talks about like when you want to solve a problem, instead of asking yourself how can I solve this problem, you should ask yourself who can help me solve this problem much faster or
And the crazy
more.
story is that the book itself has been written by the who and
Yeah,
not the how. It's so cool.
that's amazing. That's the best part of it. So yeah, I totally live by those words. And so I guess my family, like for sure, my parents have been like fundamental in everything I've done. I think like if I wouldn't have had that support, it wouldn't have been possible. Because like even from when I was like 15 or 16, and I told them I want to go study abroad, and they were like, "Okay, that's great, but just know that you're gonna be like like very far away from us, and we don't have the money to pay for it, so you're gonna have to find a way. But go for it." And that was that's always been super important. And so even if I like live, I live very far away from them because I'm now in Europe, they're in Argentina. Um, Talking to them like on a regular basis is very important because yes, I know I have like that support and I can like reach all of my dreams because I have that support. Then maybe like might be a bit or a bit repetitive here, but like mental health, I think is also like very important.
Mhm.
So having someone that you can talk to, like even if you don't feel comfortable nowadays, I would just start with ChatGPT or like there's one called Sesame.ai, which is mind blowing. It seems like a human. It's crazy. But like being able to like get everything that you have inside your head and talk about it with someone, it's always very important because you get to know yourself better and you get out of this like autopilot mode and you start like going inside of yourself and then understanding like why are you doing the things you're doing and why do they matter and whether or not you should change or you should improve something or you should like stay in the same course. So that's very important. Um, then having someone for your physical health. Either it's again an AI or just having like very important goals, but ideally someone that can push you to your limits to at least have a fit lifestyle, like eat properly, do some exercise. You don't need that much. You don't need to be like be running an Ironman or a marathon. As long as you have like a good basis fitness level, you're gonna be able to like perform very well in anything you want to do in life. And then I would say someone that has already been through the journey that you want to go into. So if you're a founder and let's say you are, I don't know, in SaaS, in a very niche industry, finding yourself that person that has already been through the same journey that you're going to go through, uh, and being able to make him or her your mentor or advisor or even your friend. I do that's the best case scenario, and I've been lucky to do it myself. Um, it's fundamental because it allows you to cut so much like traps that you might fall into or because I mean there's been so many humans and they've done so many things that there's gotta be someone that has walked the path that you want to walk. So if you find that person, and you can for sure, it's gonna help you so much to like cut through the noise, and just go about it in a much faster and more efficient way because that person has already been through that journey. So I guess that'll be four, but yeah, I guess those will be the fundamental ones.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for the conversation, Bruno. I really appreciate the openness talking about mental health. I think it's a big taboo, especially for the older generation. I feel kind of like the younger you are, the less taboo it's becoming. So that's a very good
Mm.
thing. And yeah, wonderful. I wish you all the best with the startup. I wish you way more happy days than the painful days. But it's a journey.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for inviting me here. It's been really like so much fun, and I think it's very important to communicate about the all the shit that's going through like underneath the curtains, because the journey is not going to be easy, and it shouldn't be that way. But there's always ways to make it so much more enjoyable and better, to reach for your dreams. So yeah, love what you're doing, and keep it up.
Wonderful. Thanks. Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.